In this video, I want to talk to you about some of the advantages and some of the limitations that you may have to think about before you consider using computers to help you analyze your data. I'm actually going to start by looking at some of the limitations first, some of the limitations of computer-assisted qualitative data analysis. I'm going to do this because basically I don't think there are any major stumbling blocks to using computers in studies with qualitative research methods. But there are a few things that computers will not do for you. Firstly, you will still need to use a word processing package. Most of the software designed for qualitative data analysis do require you to enter your data into a word processing package first. There is no program out, at least not one that I'm aware of, that will take away from you the major time-consuming task of any qualitative research, which is that of reading and coding large volumes of data. Basically, computers are there to help you, and they will do things like count words for you and help you later retrieve information at a very fast rate. But you are in charge, and you still need to do the fine-grained or the in-depth analytical work. Second of all, qualitative analysis software will not be very helpful for small data extracts. And this sort of thing is rather intuitive if you have a small study or if you're interested in stuff like the way language is used or constructed or something along the lines of conversation analysis. Then you'll probably be spending your time listening to and reading again and again the same 10 seconds extract of talk. Or similarly, if you're interested in discourse analysis and you want to discover things like how particular users use particular words and phrases, and you might at one point want to pay attention to just one single paragraph or text. In such cases, obviously software designed for coding and retrieving operations will not be of much use to you. The final limitation is, and there are some ideas that were put forward in academic literature of how computer technology used in qualitative research will give you an uncritical or a cold technical analysis. But while I do understand why some academics may be afraid of this risk, as long as you treat a computer software as an instrument for pursuing arguments about data, it will not replace you as the one that is thinking hard about the meaning of data. And now we're going to look at some of the advantages of using computer software for qualitative analysis. Like I said earlier, it will not take away from the time-consuming task of things like transcribing interview data or scanning newspaper articles, reading through materials, coding, but it does eventually help with speed. This is especially true if you have to handle large volumes of data or lots of data, which you need to sort into categories. Let's say that you have 100 interviews with parents and social workers about methods of child rearing. And one thing that you notice reading through your stuff is that a particular topic that keeps popping up is the subject of discipline. So after you transcribe your interview data, you can use computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software to help you search for the word discipline. And this will literally take only a few seconds. And you will have in front of you all instances where the word discipline is found in your data. Now just think about the alternative. You would have to print out copies of all of your interviews, you would have to color code them, and then sort them into several piles on the floor. You might be able to avoid this clutter in your office or in your bedroom by cutting and pasting information on your computer, or you could use computer folders to organize your stuff. Regardless, just think of how much time it would take for you to sort out your data in order to categorize types of discipline. Just remember, specialized software can do it for you in seconds, freeing up time for you to think about the meaning of data. Let's say that after you look at all of your instances about discipline, you notice that different people seem to have or seem to give different meanings to the word discipline. For example, you might notice that parents, and you can break this down further into mom and dad, and social workers, talk about discipline in different ways. So now you can spend your time looking for patterns instead of sorting out piles on your floor. And since the time you have to allocate to research is likely limited, the more time you can allocate to in-depth analysis, the better. Another advantage is that it will help you demonstrate rigor in your research. You will be able to prove that your conclusion is grounded in all of your data and not just anecdotal evidence. You can do this by writing down in your research reports things like the number of times something occurs or the number of times you found negative instances of the same category. For example, you can say that 80 social workers in 120 instances talked about positive discipline measures. And then you can select good typical examples so that you can quote in your research. A fourth advantage is a facilitation of team research, and here we're talking about inter-rater reliability. Whenever there's more than one researcher involved, there's always the risk of multiple interpretations of the same segment, which, unless it's addressed, it could lead to faulty conclusions. Computer software for qualitative analysis is really good at showing a variety of interpretations. And then researchers can address differences in interpretations so they can end up interpreting segments in the same way. Imagine a couple of researchers, for instance, that are working on categorizing data, and one of them decides that every instance where someone talks about praising the positive behavior of a child can be coded as positive disciplinary measure. This is okay. There's nothing conceptually wrong with this interpretation. But imagine that the second researcher working on the same project does not find the same number or the same examples of positive disciplinary measures. And then when the computer quickly points this out to them, and of course you can do this by hand, but it would take significantly longer. So when the computer points it out to them quickly, the two researchers realize that one of them interpreted examples of positive disciplinary measures, such as praising a child's effort, should be given the code of positive reinforcement. And the same researcher maybe decided that instances of positive punishment, such as asking a child to clean up a mess that he or she made, should be coded as positive disciplinary measure. So now, this can lead to a series of interesting questions, such as what goes on into positive disciplinary measures? Maybe it could include both the positive reinforcement and the positive punishment. Maybe it could include negative reinforcement too, like ignoring a whiny child, or even negative punishment, like removing a privilege after some undesired behavior. As long as researchers are consistent in their coding and as long as their interpretations are based on the same theory, the research should turn out well. Lastly, computer-assisted qualitative data is helpful in relation to sampling issues. Using qualitative work does not involve the representative random sampling that is used to ensure external generalizability in statistical work. Instead, most qualitative research use snowball or volunteer sampling. Specialized software can be helpful in keeping track of the people interviewed. It is relatively simple to compare lists of mentioned names with the interview directory, so you would know when you're nearly at the end of your data collection process when the people interviewed would answer the question, who else should I interview? By giving you the names of people that you already interviewed. So let's revise. Computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software has the advantage of speeding up certain routine tasks, such as sorting and searching through large quantities of qualitative data. This speeding up has the advantage of freeing up time for analytic thought. Also, qualitative data analysis software has the advantage of proving that your research is rigorously done. It helps with inter-rater reliability if you work with a team of researchers, and it helps you to easily keep track of your sample research subjects. Now, I don't want to give you the impression that you couldn't do all that by hand, because you could, but it would take you a lot more time, and there's always the risk that you would make careless mistakes when counting instances, or you would overlook certain aspects, such as the different interpretation of segments that you would fail to see some of the patterns that you would otherwise see. You can think about pattern searching with the help of analysis software as being similar to an aerial view of a landscape. Patterns can sometimes be seen from the air that to the person on the ground are merely seen as random features. As far as limitations go, you still need to use a word processing package. And if you want to analyze small segments of data, then you don't need a computer-assisted qualitative data analysis, since it won't speed things up for you. Who knows, it might even slow you down. And finally, remember that computer-assisted qualitative data analysis is only a tool. Might be a useful tool, but it won't do the thinking for you.